Oh my god. Jesus. And then he's just like, no.
Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday night.
Hey. Chaos.
Hey. We're here. It's post E3. We're not. What?
Nothing going.
What are they laughing at? Just yelling?
Just random yelling.
Just random
I'm
yelling.
excited to be here.
We're excited to be here.
We haven't streamed in a while.
It's
Been a good long while,
It's been a little while.
Yeah.
But no, Brandon
4
streamed
months in a
today,
row.
and Kyle streamed a couple of times.
Be our spy.
Toybox Tuesday.
Yeah,
Final
Together.
Disney Infinity figures ever. You're looking at them right there.
right in front of
Thank
us.
you,
They're pretty good figures.
Depression.
This
Speeds,
is
actually.
Speeds, yeah.
Speeds.
And Seafern 141. Thank you.
Yeah, today is the
Shorts.
21st, which means we will have a
Keep
flood of
shorts.
resubs. So thank you for that in advance. I don't know about you guys. Today's been the first that I felt normal.
I'm still weak.
I'm still weak.
I'm still.
Still weak.
I'm alright.
I'm still scarred. A little
I
bit.
was,
I'm alright.
I had 3 days where I was basically like I'd go a couple hours and I just want to go back to bed, and then yesterday I was just like. I think my back revolted against the idea of being standing up and walking around for 3 days and then sitting at a desk uploading videos for 3 days.
Back pain.
Yes. Old man blood.
Somebody get this man some aspirin.
No, actually, that's finally what I finally just freaking popped like one Advil and I was fine. But today I felt good. Played a lot of Witcher last night finally. Played through the RE7 demo a couple of times, and then like everyone else got tired of trying to figure it out.
The dummy finger, bud. What's the deal?
Yeah, more than that, I just think there's other things that we just have no idea.
Thank you, resubs.
Resubs, hype,
Flood of
Ton of
insubs.
resubs.
get some shorts. Yeah, I wasn't on the shorts memo, just as I was not really into the suits memo. So.
Get shorts.
Get shorted.
So we got some fun things. We're not actually playing a game tonight. We've got a good lineup of post E3 stuff happening. So first off, we're gonna go through Ben's leftovers, and then Kyle has prepared a set of E3 awards for us to debate over. I've seen some people kind of talk like, "Oh, we're gonna finally see what it's like behind the scenes of the awards, like how they happen at GT." That's not what's happening.
No.
This is gonna be who knows what's gonna happen. This is gonna be very
No
much
stakes.
for the fun of it.
Zero stakes.
A bit
stakes.
chaotic.
Nothing will get personal.
Possibly, well, it could possibly get more chaotic than it's been in the past.
Well, one category with Huber maybe. That's
We
about
haven't
it.
really researched much of this. We were trying to come up with some things earlier today, right before we went live. And then after the awards, we're going to have some bets results
Yeah!
with Huber and Kyle. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun post-E3 night. And then Don's in the back working on an interview that Ben did.
With Mr. Suda.
Suda Goichi.
Goichi Suda.
Sweet, dude. Hype interview.
And let's get it kicked off with Ben's final impressions. The many games that Ben played and didn't get to talk about.
How many of them are NIS games?
We got a new subscriber.
New subscriber.
Subs.
No.
Wonus just
This is
Bonus
now.
Let's talk a little bit about Civ 6 because I know some people are like,
Oh, you want to do some Civ? Okay.
well, hold on.
Pump it.
No, people are like, oh, Easy Allies doesn't like strategy games or what's the deal? I don't think they were being mean, but we did have an appointment for Civ. It was a nice theater demo. It was narrated by Sean Bean, Ned Stark of Game of Thrones type.
Really?
I was very well presented, but the reason I didn't bring it up during E3 is there was nothing new to report.
Right.
They showed Teddy Roosevelt, and they talked about districts, and you kind of got to see a little bit of the game in action. But a lot of the stuff that I would say we've already covered in a preview that we've done, which is on the Easy Allies YouTube channel. So if you want to hear my opinion and a little bit of Ian Hink's opinion on Civilization 6 with what they've revealed so far, I would go check that out. I wish I could say more. I wish I could just sit here and gush about Civ 6 forever, but I just got to be soothed by Sean Bean.
A half-hour theater demo. It's pretty tough to get across a game like Civ.
Yeah.
And I can imagine like it would just amount to a lot of bouncing around. So if you're not familiar with the series already, it'll be even harder to follow along. And the best you can say is like, oh, that sounds good. But whether it actually is good or not is another situation.
Yeah, at Judges Week, not to get too excited, but Judges Week I got to play 60 turns of Civ 6, and like, holy cow! I think they're doing some extremely smart things. Not to get too much into the nitty gritty of the mechanics, but if you're a Civ 5 player or really just a Civ player in general, I think this one's going to be good. I'm excited.
On the opposite end of the spectrum,
Yeah.
I believe you got to see the successor to Akiba's Trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Akiba's Beat, right?
Yeah, I feel like for those who aren't familiar, we should talk about Akiba's Trip.
God.
Yeah, so Akiba's Trip, as a game, I was actually very surprised came outside of Japan at all.
Jones checked out. I'm getting food. He heard anime.
He cheered.
Bam.
So basically,
Akiba, I'm done.
the high level, the high level, as far as I understand it, is you're in Akihabara, and there are vampires, and you reveal the vampires by stripping their clothes off and then exposing them to sunlight.
Yes, so the vampires need to die from sunlight, and so you but it's not just like you rip off their clothes all at once, you like rip them off bit by bit.
Okay.
And eventually you see vampire ladies in their underwear and boys in their tighty whities, and it's really funny, and it's you know, it's played up intentionally and meant to, it's not a game that takes itself very seriously. And I was really excited to check it out just because I thought the concept was so hilarious. And I reviewed it, and I did not give it a very high score, only because the combat was really repetitive, and they do a wonderful job of showing off Akihabara, which many of the chat probably knows. But if you don't know, Akihabara is kind of like considered, or at least it was considered at one point, sort of the gaming mecca of Japan.
Yeah, or the otaku mecca.
The otaku mecca is a better way of saying it.
They have the maid cafes and all that as well.
Yeah, and so if you're familiar at all with Akihabara, you could kind of go around this virtual version of it and see places from the actual city there. But what kind of killed it for me is that it's not just one big sprawling city, it's broken up into little chunks. And so it's like, here's this tiny slice of Akihabara. Now go and transition into another screen.
Is it kind of like Monster Hunter-y?
Yeah, it's kind of Monster Hunter-y. That's a good way of describing it. Akiba's Beat, well, that kind of quirkiness and that colorfulness, as you can see in the trailer, is still sort of present. It's a very, very different game.
Yeah, it looks like it.
So
Looks like you don't tear off clothes.
you do not tear off clothes
It's
at
like
all.
Persona
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
in dungeons.
Okay.
So Akiba's Beat, as the title suggests, is all about music. And different characters have different songs that they can play. And you sort of have like this overdrive thing that happens where your song will play and it will pump you up and you'll be able to attack faster. And instead of being a pure action game like Akiba's Strip was, Akiba's Beat is sort of an action RPG. And I think it's going to draw a lot of comparisons to the Tales of series because the way the battles are presented visually, it looks very, very similar. But it's not the same. It's definitely more action oriented than the Tales of series is. It's not like you're trying to nail specific arts. It's a little bit faster paced. You're pushing a lot more buttons, I think, than you are in a Tales game, even though you are pushing a lot of buttons in the Tales series. And it was one of those things where I'm like, he was telling it to me and it sounded very cool, and I liked the idea of using music and rhythm in combat, but I didn't get hands-on with it. The creator was demoing it for us. The combat didn't seem to have a lot of weight to it. Like, you would just sort of hit things and they didn't have much of a reaction, and it didn't have a lot of weight, and he probably got into...
Did you own land? Just subscribed.
The memes, man.
So many memes.
Drowning in memes.
Subscribe now. I can't even sing right.
He probably got into 5 or 6 different battles, and they were all in the same dungeon, to be fair, but they had a very similar look to them, and so that was a little bit worrying. And the other thing is much like Akiba's Trip, you're in Akihabara again, but that novelty of seeing all these things has kind of worn off because it looks very, 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 very similar to the last game.
Yeah, I noticed like ghost people walking around rather than like seeing. That's one of the things that's, you know, it's hard to do Akihabara justice on like a limited budget because Akihabara is crowded. There's lots and lots of people everywhere, and so it's kind of weird to see these like sort of empty streets with like just silhouettes of people walking around.
The thing that I didn't really get a good sense of, especially because it was in Japanese and we were going through a translator, is, you know, my favorite aspect of the first game was that quirkiness, was that humor, which definitely hit during certain segments. And so hopefully once we're able to actually get our hands on an English build, we'll be able to check that out.
Yeah.
But a little bit worried about the combat, a little bit worried about the city itself, and just how the battle system will play out. So we'll see.
So we talked about that. We talked about Trails of Cold Steel 2. Was there anything else at XC that you saw that caught your eye?
So, yeah, this will be really, really quick. So I saw Story of Seasons 2, which, for those who aren't familiar with Story of Seasons, it's very much a Harvest Moon game.
No, basically it's Harvest Moon.
It is.
They
Yes.
just switched people,
Exactly.
and Natsume still holds the Harvest Moon license.
Exactly. The thing is I was kind of ushered over to a Story of Seasons 2 demo station, and it was all in Japanese. And so I got to run around the world. It looks fantastic. It looks adorable, much like the first Story of Seasons game. But processing what was going on was a little difficult. There is one little story that I want to share that I thought was cute. Apparently, you can just go into people's houses and just eat with them. And so there was this old middle-aged Japanese man just hanging out at a table having tea, and I just sat down and we just started having a conversation over dinner. And I was like, all right, I can't understand anything that's being said right now, but this game's probably going to be all right.
Nice.
We're like, what are you doing in my house?
No, he seemed happy to have you. Like, no trepidation
situation.
whatsoever. It was very, very, very jolly.
That's cool.
Yeah, but that's kind of the extent of my Story of Seasons 2. The other one, the last one, is Warhammer 40k Inquisition Martyr.
Right.
And this is by the same people that did the Van Helsing games. And it's got some cool ideas in it. And the best idea that I liked is the creatures that you're fighting, you can target specific body parts. So I fought this giant green monster that had these long fingers with giant holes at the end, and like gas would come out, and he would spray you with gas. I was playing the assassin. I had a sniper rifle. I could target that arm and shoot it off, and so he could no longer have that attack.
Oh, okay,
and so
cool.
you could think in the main game like how that could be used to your advantage, like shooting off legs or arms or armor pieces or something like that.
Does it play like the Van Helsing
It
games?
very much plays like the Van Helsing games.
Going ranged, Ben?
Well, the other thing that I wanted to get to that you will like to maybe ease your range
That's a strong
concerns
game, Damian.
is don't worry, Demi. There are like actually a million Warhammer games coming out, so I don't blame you at all.
That's not actually on the stream right now.
Oh, okay.
I was waiting for your reactions, and then
Gotcha.
then
Sure.
I added up.
So he's doing his job great.
Yeah, we talked for about a minute or 30 seconds, and you haven't said anything about the trail. I'm like, yeah, it's right. Let's set it up.
Sure. The other thing that you can do is there were two classes that they showed off for the demo, and one was the assassin, which had the sniper rifle. But at any point with both classes, you could press the W key, and you would switch from a ranged loadout to a melee loadout, and you could do that on the fly. And what was cool about that is you're playing as the Crusader, this giant, big, hulking dude, and you're shooting a submachine gun, and then when guys come close, you pull out like your chainsaw sword and just start slicing them up. And so being able to switch on those two things on the fly was really, really cool. The other thing that they really emphasized that I didn't think was nearly as effective in the demo is this cover system. And so in the Crusader portion of the demo, you're going through like this space station, and there are giant pillars.
Here we go.
And both you and the enemies can destroy these objects. And so it's one of those things where, like, if you're having trouble getting to a dude, you can cut through that, or if you want to use it as cover, you can, but you have to keep in mind that it can get destroyed. But the thing is, and if you think about Diablo-like games, which this very much is, an action RPG, is you don't really need cover all that much. Or I didn't find myself needing cover all that much in the demo, and especially since you can't, like, snap to it. You just kind of, like, awkwardly move behind it. I found it far more effective just getting in there and shooting dudes and then slicing them when they got up close, and just using my abilities to my advantage than trying to, like, poke in and out of cover. It was just a little awkward and didn't seem all that necessary.
Ben, do you control one person at a time?
You control one person at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the Crusader. That's a finishing move that he did.
Nice.
He's got, like, this head in this, like, skeleton cage that you pull out. But yeah, they've got some interesting ideas. I am not the biggest fan of the Van Helsing games, and some of my concerns from those games came over here, where your hits just didn't have the impact that you want. I mean, you're wielding this giant chainsaw sword thing, and when you slice into a dude, they just don't react, and it just doesn't hit the way that you think that it would. But it's still very, very, very early. I was playing a pre-alpha demo of it, so... yeah, good ideas. Interested to see more.
Man,
I love
really
the 40k
miss-
universe.
I really miss Space Marine. I wish they were making a sequel to that.
So Space Marine is like easily the most underrated Warhammer game. It was so cool.
So
it
cool.
felt amazing.
And they just,
like,
dropped it.
hitting dudes in that game felt the way that you wanted a 40K game to feel. So definitely.
Okay, so there's one you didn't talk about, and maybe there's a reason it didn't happen.
Yeah.
The Nioh. You were supposed to get a Nioh.
Oh, Nioh,
demo.
yes, I did play Nioh. Nioh's actually super hype. That's the best thing in this whole presentation. I keep forgetting about it. So I played Nioh, and what was neat about it is you could choose from like 5 different levels, and they were all very, very
cool.
different. Yeah. And so one of them that I played, the closest comparison that I can say is a Chalice dungeon.
Oh, okay.
Where it was very, very tight corridors. You were underground. And there were traps, so I walked over a thing, and then arrows shot me. But unlike Bloodborne, where I feel like you get hit by traps, you can kind of heal your way through it. You get hit by a trap in Nioh, you're dead. That's it. Like, you're gone.
I like that.
They either kill you outright or do like 75% of your health.
Cool.
I mean, and the way that it was in the demo is, so I stepped on this like stone that I clearly wasn't supposed to step on. I got hit by an arrow. I get knocked forward. 75% of my health is gone. I fly right into an enemy, and he finishes me off, and it all happens in like 5 seconds.
Nice. King DDD subscribed, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
King DDD. A lot of subscribers.
What I liked about the dungeon that I played is there was a segment where I fought an Oni, a demon, and I was having trouble getting through it. But I found an alternate path where I could just kind of go around it.
Oh, okay.
And I hope to see a lot more of those, specifically in these dungeon-like areas, where you can kind of find creative ways of getting around. But the other thing that was way more hype that you see in the trailer is there was just this open Japanese meadow.
Oh,
and like you couldn't see the ends of it. It was completely open. You would go and enemies would pop out of the grass.
Oh.
And it was super, super, super awesome. And really sold sort of the feudal Japan tone that they're going for. And it was kind of one of those feelings where you're like, I don't know which direction to go to, which we haven't really seen with Neonet, which was super hype. The one concern that I had, but I don't know if it's much of a concern just because I still enjoyed it, is there was a section of the demo where there was this black fog door, and I couldn't progress until I killed all of the enemies.
No.
So it was one of those designs. And that happened a couple of times where enemies would just keep spawning, and the only way that you could get out is if that you kill them.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Don't cry.
It is a very Koei Tecmo thing to do. I think the combat in Nioh is good enough that as I was playing it didn't aggravate me, but it felt weird in a game that is forward thinking in a lot of ways, has a lot of good ideas, definitely has a good style to it.
Place.
Yeah, it felt rooted in the past in a really weird way, but I guess the thing to say about Nioh, to sum it all up, is
get hyped.
Like, the more that I play this game, the more that I dig into it, the more that I understand it, the more that I absolutely love it. Like, if people are going to take that Souls formula, this is how I want them to do it. Like, it felt good. It was another one of those demos where the guy had to, like, say, hey, you're over time, we need to get this other guy in here. Just because I was so absorbed with what I was playing.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean,
Nioh hype.
I'm glad that we got the alpha or whatever before, because, yeah, that's just a hard game to try to jump into.
Yep.
Yeah, had I not played that alpha beforehand, I would have not gotten very far, for sure. Yeah. But that's what I played. Those are my leftovers.
Very cool.